Well, hey, anatomy, hope you're doing well when you get this, watch this. This is the lymphatic system, part one. I do have some questions for you at the end of this video that I would like for you to answer and email me the answers by Friday. End of the day, Friday is fine. I'm trying to make these videos a little bit more engaging, so therefore people will be more likely to invest some time into them because I want them to help you. So the lymphatic system, you watched a couple of videos, a lot of you have been doing that, but the lymphatic system is actually kind of a part of the circulatory system. So we haven't done circulatory system yet, but here's a brief diagram on the screen. Circulatory system brings oxygen-rich red blood cells, nutrients, waste, all, to where it needs to go in the body. And usually in diagrams, red means oxygen-rich, you can see right here, and blue means oxygen poor. Your blood's never blue. It's always red, just kind of changes the shade based upon oxygen level content, but it's never blue. So the lymphatic system, what actually does it include? It includes cells, tissues, and organs responsible for two main functions, okay? The first function is immunity. We've been hearing a lot about immunity, immune systems, herd immunity. I don't know if you've heard about this, but waiting for the human population to develop enough resistance and antibodies against the virus, COVID-19, so it doesn't affect as many people. We're working on a vaccine would also give immunity. And so immunity is the ability to resist infection and disease. All cells and tissues involved in immunity are part of the immune system. Not only does the lymphatic system do that, it also maintains normal blood volume and composition of interstitial fluid. So the lymphatic system really consists of three main kind of components: lymphatic vessels, and lymphoid organs. And so lymph is a interesting word, but it's actually a clear white fluid made of white blood cells, leukocytes, the cells that attack bacteria in the blood, and fluid from the intestines. Florida right now has kind of like screened who's coming into the state. I don't know if you've heard that or not. And so if our circulatory system, you can see here the red and the blue, that would be like the interstates are open. That's a very fast, system, fast for the most part, and it gets nutrients and oxygen where they need to go, takes waste where it needs to go pretty quickly. The lymphatic system, as probably heard in some of the videos, is like a slower system. It's like a check. It's a border patrol. It checks things out and makes closely inspects what's going through our body. And so an interview of the lymphatic system is lymph specifically consists of interstitial fluid. It's the fluid between most of the cells. So that's what interstitial means. Lymphocytes and macrophages, and then lymphatic vessels. So the main component as far as cells go in the lymphatic system is, of course, lymphocytes. They're the primary cells. They respond to invading pathogens such as bacteria and viruses. Obviously, the entire world is focused on a virus right now. Abnormal body cells like cancer cells. Most of the time, your body detects and kills cancer only when it's really aggressive or really mutated, I guess you could say. Is the body overwhelmed? But most of the time, the body seeks out and destroys problems, foreign proteins such as toxins. So these guys are, as you can tell, very important for your well-being. Not only that, that's the primary cell, but there's organs associated with the lymphatic system: thymus, bone marrow, tonsils. I don't know if you ever had your tonsils removed. I might try to insert a video eventually about a tonsillectomy, which is the removal of tonsils. Lymph nodes. If you've ever been to the doctor and they kind of feel right here, what are they looking for? They're looking for swollen lymph nodes. That can be a sign of an infection. Spleen. I knew a student one time who had her spleen removed, so it's not a necessary organ, but it does help out. And then mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, or called MALTs, but we won't really talk about MALTs in this course. And so you can see here, this is just a basic diagram of the major organs. So your adenoids and your tonsils. Lymph nodes are at various places. Lymph vessels are kind of like blood vessels, but of course different. I'm about to tell you how they are. The spleen's on the left side of the body. I'm not sure if we'll be able to dissect the cat this year, but hopefully. And I know one of our students is really looking forward to that. But the spleen, you'll very clearly see the spleen right there. It's very, very easy to see. the groin, and the bone marrow. So what are the functions of the lymphatic system? Number one, to produce, maintain, and distribute lymphocytes, those important cells that help protect us. Maintain normal blood volume, we've already shared that. And then provide an alternate route for the transport of hormones. We briefly talked about hormones, endocrine system, nutrients, and waste. The functions also include causing the differentiation of lymphocytes. Differentiation means specialization. A lot of you are studying to become specific things, or you're trying to figure that out. But cells undergo a development where they become specialized. And so T cells and B cells and natural killer cells. You actually have cells in your body called natural killer cells. That's pretty crazy to think about. But your body doesn't play around. It was built to protect you at all costs. And so secondary lymphoid structures considered to be the front line of defense. This is our front line of defense against the pathogens in the world. And so also it maintains normal blood volume and chemical composition of interstitial fluid. So structure of lymphatic vessels. Small lymphatic vessels are called lymphatic capillaries. So capillaries always mean like little, smaller tubes. And large diameter lymphatic vessels are called lymphatic ducts. And so the lymphatic capillaries, I'm going to kind of put a picture right here and zoom in and kind of show you what they kind of look like. But comparisons to vascular, which means the capillaries you normally think of, blood vessels, they're larger in diameter. I would like for you to know that. They have thinner walls, which means diffusion happens at a faster rate. It's easier to diffuse across, which makes sense because they're kind of absorbing things around them, these lymphatic capillaries. They have an irregular outline, and they also have a greater permeability. I highlight that because that's very important. It's easier to cross. If you're permeable, it's very easy to cross the membrane. So if lymph is collected from all these interstitial fluids, where does it drain to? And this is what the next slide is about. It drains in two major ducts, and I want you to know where these are: the right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct. And so I want you to kind of read over this slide, but the right lymphatic duct's over here, draining into the venous system, and the thoracic duct is over here, draining also into the left side of the venous system. I'll show you another picture here in a second, but that's where they are, and that's where they drain into, above the heart. So all the fluid in the lymph system eventually gets back to the circulatory system. So here's a picture. All these pictures are from Pearson. By the way, I don't own any of these pictures. But here's the lymphatic capillaries. Here's the interstitial fluid. Here's your arterial, which means small, blood vessel containing oxygen-rich blood. Venule, which contains oxygen-poor blood. And so the lymph is flowing towards those ducts. But how does it flow? Well, there's actually little valves in lymphatic vessels that prevent the backflow. So lymph is always moving towards those ducts, but how is it actually moving? That's another picture of the lymphatic vessel underneath a light microscope. So there's hardly any pressure. If you've ever taken your blood pressure, some of you may have lately, very stressful times we're having, and so blood pressure is sometimes an indication of stress or underlying issues, health issues. But there's hardly any pressure in lymphatic vessels. So where is the pressure? Where is the ability to pump this fluid coming from? Where it's actually coming from your muscles. Skeletal muscles contract to help propel lymph towards those ducts. And so inhalation, take a deep breath, right, calm, into the nose, out through the mouth. Even inhalation helps to move lymph towards that venous system, the subclavian. So here's another picture, maybe probably a better picture for understanding where the ducts drain into. But here's the right subclavian vein. Again, this is the right side of the body, the left side of the body. And then here's the right lymphatic duct, which is draining into that vein. Here's the thoracic duct over here, and the left subclavian vein, again, the left side of the body. You're looking at someone else's body. And so remember the anatomical position. And these subclavian veins join with, various, the jugulars, and go into the superior vena cava, and that goes into the heart to get oxygen and stuff. So this is where the lymphatic system drains into. Here's just a brief diagram. The right lymphatic duct drains from this side of the body, and as you can see, the thoracic duct collects from everywhere else, which is pretty interesting to and kind of crazy to think about. So at the close of this part one lymphatic system video, I want you to answer these questions, and please email me the answers by Friday at the end of the day is fine. But what is the difference between a lymphocyte and lymph? What is the function of lymphatic vessels? What structure prevents the backflow of lymph in some vessels? And what are the two locations lymph drains back into the venous system? Okay, so this is part one of the lymphatic system. I hope it is helpful, and I hope you're doing well when you watch this again, guys. Full of peace and God's grace. And we'll pray for you and your family. Until we talk again, God bless.